Now, there are two kinds of ley lines: energy ley lines and true ley lines. Now, energy ley lines are considered to be wide beams of energy crossing over the landscape. It is said that these ley lines are changes within the Earth's crust, which are affected by the pull of gravity from both the sun and the moon. Now, these elements combined, they may change the nature and the intensity of the Earth's energy. It is at these ley lines that many of those ancient sacred sites were built, allowing that energy, flow to be intensified. Now, true ley lines are ancient straight tracks created by traders. They were first identified in the 1920s by Alfred Watkins. These ley lines have at least 5 aligned pre-Reformation sacred sites on them, and they are within short distances from one another. Now, it was stated by Watkins that these lines were navigational tools for footpaths that were used during various hilltops and other physical features as landmarks to make their way through the once densely forested countryside. Now, ley lines are known by many different names around the world, and a few of those names would include power lines, earth currents, sacred lines, and dragon lines. Even known by different names, the basis of what ley lines are stays the same: rivers of energy that flow around the globe in a network type of patterning.
Well, there are other theories on ley lines that associates them with spiritual paths in which the spirits themselves can actually travel from place to place.
Interesting.
It is. So these ghosts and spirits are able to feed off of energy, which the ley lines obviously have plenty to offer, hence allowing them to travel along these paths. They have also been claimed to carry a very powerful magnetic field and that they hold psychic powers. Still others state they're associated with UFO sightings and landings. Some also believe these lines contain healing properties found within the vortex of the ley lines themselves.
That is very interesting, and I'm wondering, I haven't even had to check, I haven't looked, but it makes me wonder now that we're talking about this, if any of the natural springs fall upon these lines. Now, we talked about the natural springs and the paranormal activity. Now I'm going to have to look them up later. There are also, folks, both positive and negative ley lines. Of course, that's with anything. If you have a positive, there's always a negative, right? Most of the earth lays, they're considered to be positive, but when 2 or more of these lines cross or intersect one another, negative energy is then created. This negative intersection is like a powerful magnet that attracts many different kinds of lower vibrational spirits, energies, entities, and even sometimes people. The entities or spirits can then draw off this negative energy and use it to manifest themselves, and allowing them to move freely between their world and ours. For the people that are drawn to or find themselves near a negative ley line, it is said to affect the way they behave. They will more likely be more prone to or influenced by the lower vibrational thoughts, which include paranoia, anger, ego issues, and fear, which can be a source of food, so to speak, to an entity to allow them to recharge their essence. Now, these negative sites that have also witnessed high levels of torment and tragedy, such as battles, murders, etc., they become what are known as black streams. These streams tend to create intense feeling for people near them, feeling of foreboding and nervousness, and it can cause lack of sleep, headaches, feeling of being sick. And with that, folks, we'll be back after this short break with more Ghost Talk Radio. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
"23 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. And joining me tonight is Kristin Boyd. If you have just tuned in, we invite you all to join us in our interactive chat at wbhm-db.com, where you can ask us any questions you may have. We have been discussing ley lines and paranormal activity. If you missed the first part of the show, no worries, folks. You can catch the full show archive at your leisure on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. So with that, let's continue. There's so much more to talk about, and it's so interesting, Kristin.
There is. Well, there's actually a lot of evidence showing that our ancestors were working with ley lines well before they'd even been discovered within the 1920s.
Nice.
So not only were their sacred structures built on these energy-enhanced areas, but it also appears they were able to detect and even harness this energy that were produced and were able to amplify that energy even more. Now, they used this energy from the ley lines to permit themselves to have more personal, positive energy. They also believed that in these areas of high energy, they could communicate better with the gods they were worshiping.
Nice.
Now, most of these man-made structures were based upon people's religions and cultures, with them believing that these paths contain spiritual significance. Now, a few of these ancient sacred sites include the Egyptian pyramids, Peru's Indian ruins, Stonehenge, the Great Wall of China, and Mayan and Aztec and Incan monuments. Other man-made structures found in these ley lines include moats, castles, churches, and crossroads. So far, researchers have found 800 straight ley lines, 300 geometric figures, and 70 animal and plant designs created by our ancestors, but all of which can only be seen by the air.
Is that fascinating or what?
Very much.
In relation to paranormal occurrences or oddities, the Egyptian pyramids have long been known to have strong curses attached to them, and people have been reported to suffer from these curses. Now, the Machu Picchu has been also reported to be haunted, especially around the temple itself. And Stonehenge, however, is one of the most noted haunted ancient places, being built on pagan burial grounds and also being the center of 14 crossing ley lines.
Wow.
Isn't that just so fascinating?
It is.
Now, this many intersecting ley lines creates a vortex of pure energy. Now, combining all of that with it also being in alignment with the summer solstice sunrise, Stonehenge is definitely considered a power point of energy when it comes to ley line intersections. There is a very notable haunted location that is situated on 2 ley lines and was built on an ancient pagan burial ground. The ancient Ram Inn in England is believed to be haunted by upwards of 20 different ghosts. It is said that this inn was the site of a child sacrifice and devil worshipping. Some of the ghosts that haunt this location include an incubus, which is a male sex demon. La la la. A priestess that has been spotted several times sitting on a bed. Maybe she's waiting for the incubus.
Maybe.
And visitors have also claimed to have heard agonizing screams of a young girl.
The Isle of Wight, better known as Ghost Island, is considered to be one of the most haunted islands ever to exist. There is reported to be thousands of ghosts, spirits, poltergeists, and apparitions that haunt this island. This surplus of activity is credited to the powerful unseen ley lines that run under the British island. These ley lines are credited to helping create the charge or current needed to enhance the electromagnetic vibrational field on this island, helping to increase the psychic potential for ghost sightings. This island is said to be home to phantom monks, gray ladies, poltergeists, spirits of smugglers, soldiers, royalty, Romans, and also viewings of ghostly murders, ghost ships, and even ghost trains.
Ghost trains.
Ghost trains. That's pretty interesting.
Yes, it is.
Now, undead soldiers have been seen within the old fortress, along with having a haunted police station, a courthouse, a lighthouse, a library, and a prison. So needless to say, this is a hot spot for many paranormal investigators with a wide variety of haunts to choose from.
So I know some people probably heard a whole lot of commotion a few minutes ago. Like I said, we are having a live ghost hunting event, and somebody ventured on upstairs.
Yep.
So it wasn't EVPs or
Nope.
spirits. It was actual living human being. Now, in case anybody was wondering. Now, speaking of haunted places and ley lines,
The lines, they extend directly to the Gallows Hill Park.
yes, and it is most likely the site of the 1962 hangings during the Salem witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts. Now, that is also reportedly a very haunted location. You can find haunted locations clustered on and around these ley lines. A great example is the ones that run through Chicago. There are 3 lines that run through Chicago, and the bulk of the reported hauntings there are right along those lines. It's very fascinating.
It is.